I want to go straight to it. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was in London. It was 8 o'clock at night, and I saw one of your spaces open up with Alex Jones, and he was going to talk, I think, about being re-platformed on Twitter. He had just done a Tucker Carlson interview. Now, I've known Alex for a while. When I was censored in 2020 during COVID times, he had me on his show. And I tuned into your space, and within minutes, it's Alex Jones, Elon Musk, Andrew Tate rolls up with his brother Christian. Then Vivek Ramaswamy comes in, and you've got this crazy, surreal discussion happening between 4 or 5 men that you probably will never get in the same room. And yet here they are talking real, uncensored, unscripted, and there's over 100,000 people watching live. And I just want to know from your perspective, and you're moderating it too, so you get to try to moderate this thing at the same time. What's that like to do something like that? Do you pinch yourself sometimes that it's actually happening? And then, what are the ramifications? This is literally almost a new form of media that you've created.
I think most people don't understand how important this is. Like, you've got some of the most censored people on the planet coming on and discussing some of the most pressing issues. Mainstream media will never platform these people. They won't platform them at the same time. So to have them rock up, like Elon wasn't planned to be there. It was Alex Jones, and I messaged Elon, hey, can you jump in? He was able to jump in. And Tristan, I think we messaged, Andrew came in afterwards. I think he just saw the space. I think that was the first time he joins our space. And, there's a few important points. First, the important role X is playing when it comes to media. All these different news outlets, they barely cover my spaces, except when it's a topic they like. So that space didn't get much attention. Everyone liked the fact that Vivek went to the bathroom while his mic is unmuted, despite very important issues being discussed. So in terms of me pinching myself, we've had a lot of these spaces. I've been doing this for a while. I pinch myself when I start seeing the real world impact. Like so when I go out of my little bubble, we talked about it earlier. I'm in my room or in my house running the space. I don't know that there's millions or hundreds of thousands listening on the other side. I don't know the impact it has, especially when I cover something like the war in Gaza. So when I did that space, I didn't know how many people actually listened to it until I go out and people are like, that's an incredible space. Not sure if I can curse. If I do, I apologize. Sorry. That's an incredible space. And then it starts to click like, holy shit, like there's never been an interview with that many censored people in one place. And then it's all unscripted. So you have no idea what they'll talk about. And I became an audience member, so I was moderating it, but most of the time I was just sitting there and listening because I'm there to facilitate it. Yeah. It's not about me, it's about them. So it was one of my I put it in definitely my top 10, top 5 spaces we've ever had, and it's unplanned. A lot of our spaces that blow up are unplanned. This is what's different to spaces, beyond being uncensored, is that you don't know who may rock up. Right. Like when we're doing the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, yeah. We didn't plan for Bill Ackman to jump on. Like we're doing another show with him that is planned, prepared, but when he jumped into the Silicon Valley, which he was leading the way in one of the leading voices when it comes to the government response to the collapse, he wasn't planned. Mark Cuban wasn't planned. Jason Calacanis wasn't planned. And all the other guys, they just rock up because they see the space there. And that's the beauty of it. And I think it's very, very underrated. It's very different to any other media that exists because shows are scripted, interviews are organized in advance. Whenever there's CNN, Fox News covering an event live, they bring their guests, they schedule their guests in advance, which we do as well. But they can't bring, so if they're talking about the mutiny in Russia and a politician in Russia is listening to CNN's coverage, he can't just phone in and jump on. It's very rare. Yeah. On Twitter Spaces, all they need to do, and it happens a lot, a politician is listening. We've had that happen. Senators in the US, politicians in the Arab world, they just press one button, we see the request, we vet them, and we've got a politician that's up, or we had journalists come on and we can hear the airstrikes in the background, or the gunshots when we did the Ukraine war, the gunshots in the background. So that's something else about spaces that people are not talking enough about. And that's why we're so focused on that platform. It's very different to anything else.
Yeah. I mean, again, I guess if Elon hadn't taken over Twitter, this wouldn't be happening necessarily.
I've been doing spaces well before Elon. And whenever we stream, in the early days, we used to stream our spaces on YouTube. They get taken down. Right. Because it's not scripted and we don't control the content. And we cover both sides. So for example, the war in Gaza, I'm happy to have people from Gaza, from if members of Hamas, I think we had a member of Hamas come on, they're welcome on. Which other outlet will bring a Hamas member on? And of course, the IDF has been on. I think we've had politicians from Israel on at the same time, politicians in Lebanon on at the same time. Lebanon and Lebanese and Israelis, they're legally not allowed to be on stage together. Lebanese people are not allowed to talk to Israelis. They're not allowed to share a stage. They're not allowed to interview them. Yet we have them on stage together on Spaces. This is not something I could do on any other platform. Rumble, which you're obviously you're a proponent of free speech. Rumble is similar to Spaces, to Twitter, to X, and they've done a great job in fighting censorship. But as we were talking earlier, it's a very, very tough uphill battle.
Yeah, very much so. Besides that Elon one, and again, it was just crazy because none of those guys have probably ever had a conversation with each other. I think Alex and Andrew have talked, but just Elon, I'm sure, has never had a conversation with Alex Jones.
Never.
And he never probably, has had a conversation with Andrew Tate. I doubt he has.
No, they've never talked.
And now they're all talking at once with a presidential candidate chiming in. And like you said, it's unscripted and it's just wild to see what happens. Also, what I found interesting is that Elon asked Alex some hard questions that were bothering him about Sandy Hook. And Alex answered, and Elon was like, okay, all right, solved. So like in a weird way, you have just squashed a beef that could have massive ramifications for freedom of speech, for censorship, all this stuff. I mean, this is a new form of medium. It's a new medium,
Another thing as well is that most people don't understand when you're on stage in those spaces, it feels like a phone call because it's just audio. You're jumping on, you can just request up. We had a lot of speakers that call it a phone call, like I joined Mario's call, like a Zoom call. Yeah. And that's important because they have the comfort. Like for example here, if you haven't done a lot of interviews, you'd be stressed. You've got the lights, you've got the cameras, and that's most formats are structured like this. So it means I know I'm on the spot. I know there's a camera, and instinctively I'm going to be paying attention to that in what I say. But if I'm just in the car and Vivek was in the bathroom afterwards, or in bed, or we had Elon join once and he's getting dressed to go into a conference room while in the space. There's that level of comfort, and you forget that the world is listening. It becomes like they're on a phone call together or they're sitting on a table together. So it becomes very raw and a lot more open. Some things that were said, like the first time that ever happened, I realized the power of it was when I was in the space that blew me up, the FTX space. When FTX first imploded, no one would believe what we know now. We were the first to have a whistleblower come on. Her name, I won't mention her name, but she's in a recorded space. She came on, she worked at one of the top exchanges in crypto. And she was talking about exactly what we know now. The beef between CZ and SBF, what SBF has done, all the allegations, which ended up being a lot worse. Back then, it was a massive shock. So she came on, she was sharing it because she felt like it's a private discussion. And later, her voice started crackling. I remember that space really well. And I realized that she's getting pressure on the other side. And then suddenly she's like, guys, actually, I cannot keep talking about this. And she starts messaging us, guys, can you delete it? We can't, it's a live space. I can't keep doing this. I'm getting a lot of pressure. And then she leaves the stage. So I realized that you have whistleblowers. We work with James O'Keefe, who does a weekly space with us. Whistleblowers are more comfortable, and I had that a lot with FTX, more comfortable joining our space than going on Fox or CNN and having all the cameras point towards them, because they have that feeling of security and that rawness to it.
Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I'm just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
It's of course been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just in overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you got to pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.